So Donald Trump is on his way to securing 312 electoral college votes and the popular vote by almost 5 million people. Let's talk about why on Azimuth Podcast. I'm Barrett McNabb, and with me is Kimberly McNabb. So, Kimberly, we obviously have a historic mandate from the American people on what needs to happen to move our country forward. What are some of the reasons why you think Donald Trump won the 47th presidency of the United States?
Well, there are a multitude of reasons. Of course, there's the obvious question that everybody who runs for president needs to ask and answer. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Well, we can say we've experienced Biden-Harris, we've experienced Trump. Which one were you better at the end of the 4 years?
Trump.
Yeah, I think most people would agree Donald Trump. But also, we can compare his campaign from 2020, very angry, even the Al Smith dinner, his speech was a little nasty, got very personal. This time, way more funny.
Right.
Didn't go personal, no personal attacks. And the whole campaign has been mostly, especially compared to his previous two campaigns, way less about him, more about the American people, far more unifying, because he brought in people who could attract big crowds like RFK, Vivek Ramaswamy, Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, just huge people from different sets of ideas. Elon Musk. I mean, this wide range of ideas, and hammer them out into what most people can agree on. Right.
No, I agree. I mean, his messaging resonated so well with across racial and class lines inside the United States that he was able to build that coalition that you were talking about. And obviously, the campaign mudslinging occurs, but when it's over, it's over. And Trump grabbed up people that were primarying against him and brought them back into the fold, and that messaging was on point. Now, I really think one of the biggest drivers, and the American public could see this, was the excessive use of lawfare in trying to prosecute Donald Trump. They had 4 years to do it in, to bring up all these cases and things like that.
They do it in the last year.
But when he announces that he's running for re-election is then when they bring it all out.
Well, some of them even longer, like the Eugene Carroll stuff. I mean, that was decades old, and I've never understood someone being criminally innocent, but the civilly. Well, everybody's going to deny that, of course I didn't rape so-and-so, blah, blah. And just to say that you didn't is slander. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I mean, that law was specifically targeted for Trump because
the statute of limitations was flipped just for that case. How is that fair?
It was a one-time, for the next year, you can go back 40 years and bring forth, suits and everything against an individual. And then after that, it goes back to the normal statute of limitations. So, I mean, literally, they created that law specifically.
Lady Justice has a blindfold on for a reason, so they can't see if it's Donald Trump or Kamala Harris or anybody.
But even the federal cases, they had years to bring those forward, and they just let sleeping dogs lie until Donald Trump
the valuation of Mar-a-Lago. I mean, come on, that was old too.
Yeah, and so, but they brought it as soon as he said, "I'm running for re-election." The Biden administration and the DOJ specifically were trying to convict Donald Trump, for these supposed offenses. You're innocent until proven guilty, but it was only when he said, "I'm running for re-election," and they really started to hammer him to just make it so that he couldn't run. He was trying to run for president, having to run back to a courtroom in Georgia, having to run to a courtroom in New York, and there was truly election interference, and the American people saw it for what it was. If he did it in 2021, arrest him in 2021, charge him, prosecute him in 2021. Don't wait all the way until the election.
You just made it so obvious.
So obvious.
And then I would like to see the prosecutors, Letitia James, Fannie Willis, like have. I'm not saying anybody should be fired. Maybe they should, but at least have their bar licenses looked into, because as a CPA, every 2 years I have to do an ethics class. It's just part of the requirement to be a CPA.
Right.
And so to be a lawyer, now it can vary state by state, but overall it's a violation of code of ethics to say, I'm running just so I can persecute someone.
Right.
You're not supposed to find the man first and then find the crime. You're supposed to find the crime and then find the man.
Right. No, I agree.
And so that was just so obvious to so many people. But, other reasons why he won, I mean, like you just mentioned, showing up to things. He showed up to some things that she just didn't bother showing up to. Well, guess what? You left room for him to run the narrative, to steal the spotlight. You don't show up to Helene until like 2 weeks or however long after it happened. Well, guess what? People don't care. They don't care. Like Donald Trump was here for like a whole day, and people in his camp came for days on end and helped out, and you came for a photo op. Big whoop. He showed up to the Al Smith dinner. She didn't. I mean, you want to campaign against him, you got to be there.
Yeah, and Donald Trump, he actually interacted with real people in real scenarios and situations. He'd go into a McDonald's and talk to people, whereas Kamala Harris would go into a diner and have all the customers kicked out, and then bring in busfuls of actors to go in so that she could interact with them. I mean, Trump saw the real people. Hey, let me go ahead and buy everybody here, a quarter pounder with cheese. Let me go ahead and work the line at McDonald's and serve real people as they're coming through the drive-thru.
Yeah, he interacted with and did things for people that couldn't really offer him anything other than a vote, whereas she's rubbing elbows with celebrities that can, spend a lot of money on her campaign and give free in-kind contributions.
Right. Well, I mean, another thing I think that the reason why Trump was able to win is his campaign staff was Johnny on the spot, no matter what the situation. And for example, President Biden calling the Trump supporters garbage, and then the very next day to have a painted garbage truck with Trump Vance on it and have Trump walking around in a garbage man's vest, gold, absolute gold, and then doing the presser from the garbage truck.
Talk about doing the work. They were Johnny on the spot. They didn't miss a beat, and they were paying attention.
And just paid dividends, especially since, again, his message was truly resonating with working class Americans who felt that the Biden and Harris administration was prioritizing illegal immigrants over Black and Hispanic Americans that are in the working class.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he did the work. He just went anywhere and everywhere. I mean, had so many campaigns, talked to so many people, went on so many podcasts, many of which she would not go on.
Right, or put very burdensome demands on.
It's like, you're talking to Joe Rogan. You want him to come to you and only do an hour, which I'm sure you're going to show up late to.
Which would make it his shortest podcast ever if it was an hour. I think his shortest one's about 3 hours is what he normally does. But let's talk about the big one. The 2 assassination attempts on his life. The man is a stud. The man projects strength. The man projects the spirit, esprit de corps, and the spirit of fight. I mean, to have those powerful images of him with a bloodied face and his fist up in the air with Secret Service agents all around him. I mean, in that clear blue sky with the flag. I mean, you can't make this stuff up that somebody is going to attempt to assassinate a former president, but also the front runner in the for the Republican Party.
What that moment said to me, and I don't know if this said this to anybody else, but he was the 45th president of the United States. He's supposed to have secret security detail that can protect him under just unimaginable circumstances.
Right.
And if he's not safe, then I don't consider myself safe. And it sends a message to foreign adversaries like, come get me.
Right.
And that's not what we're supposed to have like as representation for the United States of America. We're supposed to be able to keep our most important people safe. We're supposed to keep all our people safe.
Right.
But if we can't keep that person safe, then what are we doing?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, honestly, this is in jest, but I think when President Biden leaves office, Trump's current Secret Service detail needs to be assigned to Biden and say, "Here you go.
How you like it?"
Hopefully, you have better luck with them than I did, and have those guys go.
Hey, if it's good enough for me, it's good enough for you,
good
right?
Or swap out with Barack Obama's security detail and say, "Okay, you now get Trump's." Security detail, and good luck with that. So anyway, I think that those images and the negative rhetoric that the Democrats used to try and define Trump and his supporters, directly led to those assassination attempts, and so obviously, you have President Biden and Kamala Harris coming out after these attempts. Political violence is it's never okay. Well, you're calling for the political violence. They're
right back at it within 48 hours.
Yeah,
too.
Exactly. I mean, even the last week before the election. Kamala Harris is outside the Naval Observatory, which is the vice president's home while she's in office, or while the VP is in office, and calling Trump a fascist and continuing to use horrible language to describe him and his supporters, and it just didn't help. Now, on top of that, I mean, I said it was the big giant elephant in the room. I mean, just having those huge, powerful images won over a lot of people, but still. He had clear policies. When you went to his website, he had clear policies. And don't get me started on Project 2025. He had nothing to do with that. So don't say, well, yeah, he had these Project 2025 policies. He distanced himself. He said, I'm not part of that. I haven't read that. I have my own stuff that's on my website. And that was a clear...
Because he has his own ideas. How original.
Well,
but the media will keep...
Kamala had to copy a lot of his.
The media will just keep harping on it, and of course they'll never be self-reflective and go, actually, why did she lose? Oh, it's like they'll say a part truth, like, well, he just thinks like they do. He can relate to them more because he's a misogynist, because he's a sexist,
right.
And add that part in. I'm like, oh my God, stop with the victim mentality. You will never improve. People see your BS, and that's why you're losing credibility.
Right.
Because you're proven to be more and more false, and you'll never take personal responsibility. This is the bad thing about Marxism and socialism is blame the other person for my faults. It's never my fault. And guess what? You're always going to get a failing grade then if you don't change.
Yeah, absolutely. And the issues that going back to policy, the issues that were on the minds of Americans by an enormous majority was the economy and immigration. And
fix your policies, maybe you have a chance.
Yeah, exactly. If she had articulated out, she said, I'm going to bring back that border bill. And the thing is that was a horrible border bill. It was
an amnesty bill.
Yeah, I mean,
it was legalizing.
You start off.
Crossings.
Every time she was asked the question, she'd start off with the good stuff, right? It was going to put 1,500 more border agents. It was going to give them more money. It was going to give them more security.
And they even said they don't need more resources. They need to be allowed to do their jobs.
To actually follow the law. But the bottom part of the bill is it allowed 5,000 people a day, 1.7 million a year.
Which the president could override once the so-called limit could be hit. So it's just this... But don't believe your lying eyes.
Yeah. But Trump said, look, I'm going to close the border. I'm not going to let 5,000 people in. I'm going to do mass deportations, starting with the people who have committed crimes here. Now,
the ones we can all agree with.
The argument could be made that crossing the border illegally is already a crime, so they've all committed a crime. But they've come into the country, they've been caught, they've been released, and now they're committing crimes in the country separate from crossing the border illegally. So it resonated. It resonated again, like I've said earlier, with black men and Hispanic men saying, it seems that the Democrats are prioritizing illegal immigrants over us. And Donald Trump said, I've got your back. I've got your back. I want to help you get jobs. I want to help the economy. I'm going to put tariffs. The Democrat Party was always saying this is just a tax on Americans. Well, or you could buy American products that are made in the United States and you don't have to pay the tariff. So what are you talking about? It's only if you buy the products that are made in foreign countries that currently are adversaries of the United States. The vast majority of tariffs are on Chinese products. Oh, by the way, the Biden administration kept every single Trump tariff on Chinese products and didn't let them go. So
if it's such a bad tax on the working class, then why do you keep it?
Why do you keep it? Because it's the right thing to do.
No, they want the money.
Well,
that's why the left keeps it.
Well, I mean, but still, it's to help prevent the dumping of government subsidized products that are made in a foreign adversary, such as solar panels or steel and things like that. Just dumping it, and having the government create those products and then dump it for less than market value in the United States. You got to raise the tariffs in order to prevent that from happening. Yeah, so I really think his messaging was instrumental in making sure that the people knew what it was that he was talking about. Now, small criticism. Now, he did, talk about his legal woes and things like that, but it was not self-pity. He turned that messaging around into, if they could do it to me, they can do it to you.
Exactly. And that's what I was trying to get at with the assassination attempt. If they can go after him, then I'm a nobody.
Right. Well,
if I say something they don't like online, they can come after me as well.
And they do in the negative comments we get. And it seems like more liberals than conservatives watch our podcast.
Hey.
But it's like, keep watching.
Engagement is engagement.
Right.
But, this campaign was far more about the American people than his last two campaigns. And, that's what people want. People want safer streets. They don't want your resources to go after, killing your pet squirrels. They want the illegal immigrants to not be dumped on their streets.
Right. No, absolutely.
I mean, their priorities, not the government's.
Now, with Trump telling people what he's going to do, how he's going to fix the economy, what tariffs he's going to do, his negotiating prowess, and saying that he's going to help end these foreign conflicts that luckily the United States is not directly involved in. We're giving material, which is military equipment and money to Israel and to Ukraine, but Donald Trump is saying that he's going to get everybody to sit down at the negotiating table. So, I mean, here's something like, let's figure this out without having to send troops.
Right, which is a far more better argument than don't.
Right. Yeah.
Don't.
I mean,
okay.
It's just crazy. It's crazy that the way that the Democrats are trying to put a toe in every single pool. But not solve any one problem.
Because they don't want to offend the Palestinians. They don't want to offend the Israelites. It's like, just like the biblical saying, you can't please two masters. I mean, that's talking about God and money. But I think, that comes true here. It's like your two kids saying, well, who's your favorite? Like, if you go, then they go, ugh.
Right.
They're not happy. No one's happy.
You're both my favorite. But still, with this is a national mandate, and that's how we open this. Like I said, I'm predicting 312 electoral votes. Real Clear Politics is aligning with my vision as well.
I'm just hoping we keep the House.
Yeah. Yep. So we have the Senate. That's already locked up, and it really is looking. The last time I checked, as of 1:37 p.m. on Thursday, November 7th, the Republicans have 305. They need 318. No, 218 to have control. They have 205 right now, and so it's looking very, very good that they're going to grab those 13 extra seats and then have a majority, so that both chambers of the Congress are controlled by Republicans. Obviously the executive branch is going to be controlled by Republicans, and the Supreme Court is going to be controlled by Republicans. So hopefully Donald Trump will be able to enact his vision and the mandate of having this landslide of Electoral College and the popular vote. I cannot be so understated that how important that having the popular vote just increases his mandate.
Yep, and it's been 20-something years since the Republicans done that.
Yeah, it's been 2004, so it was George W. Bush in his reelection was the last time that a Republican won the popular vote, and this is the first time since Grover Cleveland. I think it's 138 years ago that a president ran for president, won, ran for re-election, lost, ran for a third time and won. It's only happened one other time, Grover Cleveland, 138 years ago. So Donald Trump is making history all over the place.
Yeah. Well, what's important to me is that creeper Tim Walz, who looks frighteningly like my stepfather, is not going to be a heartbeat away from the presidency. So I say, na, 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 hey, 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 goodbye.
And with that, thank you so much for tuning in to Azimuth Podcast, and please stay tuned after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.